Hey everyone, welcome to another weekly review. So this week we kind of went nowhere. Got a bit of de-escalation on the oil blowout from the war starting, but um, like my take last week was that everything is gonna get faded, and that's still the general take. But we still need to blow up before that fade comes into play. And we have an alignment of elements that, in my opinion, is not bullish for the short term. And we keep trying to see attempts to pump the de-escalation, like in equities. For example, on Friday, this is what we saw. It tried to go higher, but ultimately failed and got a bit rejected. What you need to remember is that uh, Israel is the aggressor, and the US can become the aggressor if it joins the war too. In war, the party being aggressed is not the one who de-escalates. Like we see with Ukraine and Russia. Ukraine may want peace like crazy, but if Russia doesn't agree and hasn't quote unquote met its objective, it's not going to happen. And we see headlines about de-escalation, mostly from the Iranian side, not from the Israeli side. Like Iran can want whatever the fuck they want in the escalation, and I'm sure they don't like being bombed and shit. But ultimately, the aggressor is the one who has to back down before the defending party can have a say in it. So don't believe any headline that isn't from Israel, uh, from Israel's side, basically, saying that they want to de-escalate. Iran may want whatever the fuck they want, but it's not going to happen unilaterally from their end, just like we can get unilateral peace from Ukraine side. So these are just attempts to pump things randomly and whatnot. Now, the the few concerning things are like, for example, oil. Oil, we had a breakout here, and it got faded obviously on Monday with the escalation talk, but it bounced here, and we are consolidating, making something like a pennant. It's not imminent that we blow up, although it could happen at any moment basically. But this is bullish. It's not a bearish setup. The fact that we are consolidating this new area is a strong thing. Like we went into overbought after a long move down. Usually when you do this and then you consolidate, it's a bullish thing. Like we can go even more overbought here. As opposed to this part here when we immediately faded and went back below the trend line and continued down a constant fade. This isn't happening here. Now it's more constructive. It's more reminiscent sorry, of something like this, like the first time it went up, and then even if it pulled back, it stayed pretty constructive and it went higher afterwards. So it's looking more like that than anything else. So this is still the market is still in defense mode and it's preparing for a move higher in oil. In the same way, we see the same thing in VIX and VVIX. So we got back above this trend line here, like this is the old one. VIX tends to overshoot the trend lines, like this one. Where let me find one like this, right before it blows up. Like for example here, overshot under and then went to 20 what 21, but it went there from 12, so it almost doubled. Uh, and this seems to have happened here. Now we have gone back above the trend line. We have sort of this pennant here on lower time frames, although it held on a closing basis. And still, this is a bullish structure, and it's saying that it wants to go, it goes higher. Same for VIVIX. VIVIX bottomed. It's now consolidating above. and this is a sign of strength, not a sign of weakness. Uh, then we have equities, and we had a minus 7% VIX on Friday, and still the market was down 0.53% on SPY. Not what you want to see for the bull case. And you also have to, it's important what the market does, but it's also important what the market doesn't do. When we were going into the CPI print, I was very bullish and expecting a call print, and we got the very cold print, but maybe due to the war, maybe other stuff as well. So this was June the 12th, so Wednesday. So that was the actually let's put the day before that, which was this one. So this was the pre-CPI print. Market was rallying into the CPI, but then the CPI came in super cold, and I was expecting a breakout, which didn't come. So we got basically the best outcome possible in on inflation, but the market is still reluctant to go higher. And we haven't been like we've tried multiple times to go above that level, but the next day, so it was the CPI day here. We faded it, tried to go up, rejected, tried to go up, rejected, tried to go up, rejected, and so on. And now we are not even getting to this level anymore. So what the market was supposed to break out then, but it didn't do it. And because it didn't do it, now we have to be very wary of this. Additionally, like we have small caps. This is the 2023 low AVWAP, the all-time high. It's also all-time high, maybe? No, not all-time high, but the recent high AVWAP comboed here. And same kind of thing, we got a breakout here. And previous moves have been CPI based as well. Like for example, this is a CPI that came in cold, actually here I think, 10th of July. And look what we also had breakouts then, but they had continuation, they had strength, they had momentum, and we went crazy even though we corrected later. And that's not the only one. I think this one is also, yeah, December 13 on a Wednesday. Wednesday are usually CPI days, so that's why what I'm looking at. And we see here that it was December 13 Wednesday, or a breakout here. It was also momentum. This was Monday, Tuesday. I think this was a CPI as well. Sometimes it's on a Tuesday, very rarely. Like a couple of times a year, it's a Tuesday as well. Or it was a PPI before and then it broke out. But same kind of behavior, broke out with momentum and went much higher. But now it's looking kind of feeble. Like we're still hugging this AVWAP here, but it's not really a strong looking setup. Like we wanted to see momentum. We wanted to see like a sustained move up and go to like to 2300 and stuff like that to show strength. But now that this has happened, it's looking more like a fade. And best case scenario, we would do something like this, like go back here, maybe then uh, move higher and go to 2300, maybe. But it can also be like a full fade and it goes back below the trend line and we retest the lows that we had on April. So this is quite plausible now that we haven't followed through on the bullishness. So market was supposed to be bullish, it wasn't bullish, and that is a major red flag. We also have crypto looking kind of weak, like we had this rising wedge type of structure on Bitcoin. We broke down, but obviously this is not a major breakdown and going sideways. But on Friday we closed below this trend line as well, and it's also the 50 MA. So this is green is 20 MA and blue is 50 MA. And not only did we go below this trend line here, but it looks like continuous rejection of the 20 MA initially, but the 50 was holding, like held here, held here, held here, held here, and here again. But eventually the pressure, it tried to go up again, and it immediately got rejected, and it pushed for new lows. This is also concerning. So everything is kind of lining up towards um, things not looking that good. On top of this, we had quarterly OPEX yesterday, and I'll switch to. I won't do a separate video about the prints. It wasn't that interesting. Not that many good stuff there, but I'll just show this is individual trades sorted by dollar amount descending, and I'll just scroll through this for you guys to see. If you want to look at it, just pause and take a look, or leave a comment, and I'll pull up a screenshot of what it looks like. Lots of money, obviously, because it's quarterly OPEX and lots of prints. I marked a few that I'll go through quickly. To note here is SPLG, which is what is SPLG? It's a SPY surrogate, basically. SPLG. So large caps. This is S&P 500 ETF. It had the number one print. It had multiple prints here in this area. Like there was the number. It's now the number two, but it was one when it came, and that was CPI day on 11th. And that was the number one print when it came in, but now we have a bigger number one print, 100 million more. And this is starting to look like distribution again. Like we saw the same kind of behavior in this area, not necessarily on SPLG, but on VU, like we saw here. And VU didn't have a very high print. I had like a 4-1, 4 and 5. But cumulatively, between all of the prints that happened here, it was a number one print on VU. Like a cluster trade, it was number one. Individual trade, it was like 4 or 5, so multiple high prints. But we saw the same kind of behavior here at the top. And again, this is distribution behavior, distribution behavior, distribution behavior. So it's starting to look more dicey here and more unpleasant on that end. And I show Bitcoin. Let me delete this. What we want to look at is this, and there are many stocks that have this look on. This is the purple list. The same type of look and very toppy. Some I marked before, for example, Netflix, who Netflix had the number one print on yesterday. Again, on May 30th, if you remember, I did a video about a couple of strange out of cycle, so to say, uh, prints. Netflix number two was among them, or now it was number one then, but now a bigger number one came in, and again, signs of distribution. And I I don't like Netflix at all here. Like I think it's a good short here. Uh, with a number two and a number one now, but both were number one when they came in. Plus, like this, what I showed with Bitcoin, like we have this kind of uptrend that was broken, or we can do it something like this, let's say like this, and we don't have a good baseline for a downtrend. Let's even say like this, but it's not a good look. Then we have Spotify, also had like a high print, but not that high. Also this RSI that I pointed out previously, this look like this. We also had a number one on CoreWeave. I marked it here. So number one, we have a number five, number seven, number six over the past couple of weeks. And again, this has went up a lot very fast. The number one print previously was at IPO. So we had a 3, a 2, multiple high ones at open, and I think this is profit taking basically for this initial IPO buy. This will also have a lockup expiration. I don't know when it exactly is going to come, probably like in a month or two, but be very wary of this type of mover. Like I put here the AVWAP from uh, IPO, And it's very common for this type of big movers, like let's take Palantir, who also had a high print, and I was just taking profit. Like all of these things, excluding the chart the way it looks now, had crazy runs. Palantir had like 4.5x, maybe even more, like 5x relative to IPO. And all the big runners, they will dump. 100% they will dump because when lockup expiration comes, people will take profit. And other people know that when lockup expiration comes, they will take profit, and the dumping period begins then, or get as we go closer. For example, for Palantir, the peak was 82 bars from IPO. CoreWeave is at I don't know 40 something, but initially it dropped here. Uh, Even stuff like ARM, which also had a huge run. If we look at IPO AVUp, the first big correction was to here. It overshot a bit, but then recovered, went even higher. Second one was here, overshot as well, then bounced again. Third one, it didn't hold anymore, and so on. But this is a common thing. So currently, this is at 183, and AV up from IPO is 999, basically 100. I would expect this will be tested within the next couple of months. And how much time passed here? 57 bars. So I would expect this one to be topping, go sideways for a while before it eventually drops big. And that can be in a week, it can take a month or two. ARC, there's a lot, so there are a lot of names that look like this, with this rising wedge kind of thing. And there are a lot of names that look like this with another rising wedge kind of thing, but also into potential double top, like into a previous top resistance, which I think is nastier because it's a natural resistance area. For example, for spot, you don't know what the limit is, or you know, but you don't know. And there are other names that look like this. This is dependent on Tesla, this is dependent on Bitcoin stuff. So I would expect ARK to follow Bitcoin relatively soon. Let's see if there's a correlation. So there is obviously a correlation. I wanted to look at if let's do something else. Let's do the time offset one. Okay. And let's say Bitcoin is the leading one, and it would be like 50 days. Not too much, 20 days, 15 days, something like this. It doesn't look like zero offset seems to be the good one. Actually, crypto topped way before ARK as well. So if crypto tops out, ARK, no, this is the other way around, my bad. So this is ARK, and ARK topped before crypto, at least at the 2021 top. But anyway, going back to other stuff, like ARK looks like this. It also had a number one print here. Then we have Philip Morris with a high print. Did I mark it? I didn't mark it, but still has a nasty looking rising wedge, just like Spotify. And the trend line from the RSI is still holding. Hood with a crazy looking rally. This had the high print, also a high print here. GV, which this had a high print on the 30th, like this, and it kind of went a bit above and sideways afterwards. Still I think this one I marked it. Yeah, this had a 5 print, which was a 4, no, a 5 print before, and a 3 print now. And again, looking like distribution. Core view I can close. Netflix I can close. Oh, I can close. Stuff like Roblox, which has gone vertical. But I marked this one not necessarily because of this, but more like to compare with Spotify. Like you want stuff that looks, let's say you are, this will do a correction for sure, like a pullback, but I think this one can go higher. And the reason why I think that is because of RSI. Like this overshoot and going to oversold is actually a sign of strength, not of weakness. You actually want to avoid stuff like spot, which has going making new highs without even breaking overbought on RSI, um, because that one should fail more aggressively. And even though Roblox can potentially do like a 10-20% correction at any second, uh, it's not very likely, but it's more likely that it will hold the uptrend. Like it will do something like this, maybe it does a new trend line here, and eventually has the potential to even break 100 and go higher. This is more like short-term bearish. Spot is my more like long-term bearish. And finally, Shopify, which had a number one here and multiple other prints here. And initially, I thought it would break out with this candle, but still getting rejected. And it tried to go again above the one print and failed. And now it's looking more bearish. It broke the uptrend here. It got rejected again on this print from May 30th. And potentially on new lows here, it will break down more aggressively. Also saw a couple of number one print. One is ASTS. Uh, had a two. This was a number one before. Then it continue. I think this one broke out when the Trump Elon fight started going, because it's a competitor to Starlink basically. And but this still looks like distribution and like taking profit on this new leg up. Got a bit of a squeeze, but the smart money I think is getting out. IONQ, also a number one print here. You can see like distribution we had here. This looks again like distribution. Potentially it can go a bit higher before it dumps, but not the greatest of look. Like I very much doubt this is a buy in this area. More like distribution, and it will dump later. But it can do a fake out. Like it can, assuming the market doesn't break down very soon, it can do something like this. Maybe do a double top, and when it breaks below this level, then it will fade badly. There's also a couple of more interesting, let's say, bottom picks. One would be Adobe with a number one print here. Looks a bit constructive. I wouldn't, again, it depends on the market going up or down. So I wouldn't expect this to go up against the market while the market is going down. But it is constructive from the perspective of um, this is a line in the sand. Like if it goes here, I would expect that the low retest will be a hold, and when it recaptures this level, it will be a major breakout. Go back to 500 or something like this. Let me. One of the prints that worked from May was Mastercard, and it had this slight overshoot here, but eventually dumped and then kept dumping. It went to the print from the December OPEX level, and I wanted to show this one because like the fact that it can still go below, maybe not that low, maybe just oops, like this. This would be more reasonable, let's say. Go to 360, 350. then it holds here, maybe goes sideways for a bit, and eventually breaks out and goes this. So it's encouraging. It's not imminent reversal, and it will not go against the market. So I still expect this to overshoot to the downside, even if the market, no, if the market goes down. But yeah, it's pretty constructive here. And the second one, which I liked, is McDonald's with this print here, been dropping quite aggressively lately. Or RSI is very, very oversold, uh, usually in the area where it bounces. Same kind of behavior. I think it can overshoot a bit here. This was like a number 6 print. Uh, but I would expect short term it goes up before it goes down. But the concerning thing would be something like this. Like this leg in scale looks similar to this one, maybe a bit lower, like 280, but then it still has to go sideways for a while. Like what I'm suggesting that is that we get this type of counter rally, which how big was it? Only 5%, but with options, it's fine to take this trade. Like if we go to, let's say 280, we go to 280, you take the trade, maybe it goes to 300, as high as 300. But then it probably goes down again because I don't think we have a setup that allows for a big counter rally directly. But even if it does, it will still have this type of behavior, and that type of counter rally would be a rotation. Like if we get a rotation into staples as a defensive setup because hard data also disappoints in the future, and we see like jobs market cracking and stuff like that, I would expect we get a rotation into staples in stuff like McDonald's. Co also had a nice print and it's at somewhat of a support area. Uh, Pep Pepsi also had a good print and again at lows, but making higher lows on RSI, and so on. So I would expect we get that. So the combination of all these setups, let's also look at FANG actually. And we have Tesla, obviously lower highs. It has like a consolidation here that looks to need to look for a directional move next week. So it's been going sideways in a tight range. This is bound to move up or down very soon, and I would expect it to be down. Like sales are bad. Don't think any good news will come from Tesla. Uh, Apple, no, Nvidia. Nvidia also has this rising wedge with a curving top kind of pattern. It had the biggest print in the market, yeah, at number 12. Let's look at the yearly chart. Uh, Not that encouraging either, so you get the idea. Microsoft had the second biggest one, I think. Yeah, 4.76 billion. It's at slightly overshot to the all-time high. Like we kept getting flows for 510 and 520 for this one, but again, what's important is it was supposed to go, but it didn't go. And now we have a lower high on RSI basically, and this at least at a minimum wants to go back to 460 and find buyers, and maybe it goes up afterwards. But at a minimum, I think this should go to 460. Meta, like with the classic horizontal range here, maybe go sideways for a bit longer, but when it corrects, it should go back to here like 640. Netflix I already mentioned. So yeah, everything kind of looking not that good from a technical perspective. Even Palantir, like we haven't been, we, like you see here, it went into overbought, or here it went into overbought, and the rally continued. This corrected, but it still meant that it went higher afterwards, even after the correction. But now we barely haven't got into overbought, like slightly here, and we've been making lower highs ever since. So I think even Palantir is getting very, very heavy and should be doing another correction very soon. So all this being said, uh, I think the short summary is the market was supposed to go up, but it didn't, and now because it didn't, it will test down again. And the macro side is not going to help. Like we don't have de-escalation from Israel or the US. We have it requested from Iran, and it's the same as if Ukraine asking for peace. Yeah, unless Russia wants it, it's not going to happen. Same here, unless the US and Israel want peace, it's not going to happen. That's it for this week. Have a good one. Bye bye.